This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 124, and this week it is our penultimate episode, the second to last year in review. I just realized it's our penultimate year in review episode, not our second to last episode ever, just to be clear, because the way I said that was weird. But yes, our penultimate year in review episode. So we're almost done with these 2019 year in reviews, and this week we're covering what I'm calling miscellaneous Puro, which basically means anything other than the Puro episodes that got their own episodes, which were DDT and Joshi, and New Japan, which is next week. So we're covering, All Japan, Noah, Big Japan. We'll at least touch on Dragon Gate and Wrestle-1 and ZERO1. So that's pretty much the big, the theme this week. My guests are both returning guests and both Voices of Wrestling contributors. Hello, Thomas.
Hey, John. How you doing?
I'm okay. I should mention, too, by the way, if I sound even more nasally than usual, I am getting over a cold, so I will try not to sneeze on the air or cough on the air. I gotta get that mute button ready, I guess, but I apologize for that. But yeah, how are you doing, Thomas?
Doing really good. Excited for the new year. I mean, January means a whole ton of shows in Puro, so that always gets me excited. And then we've got award season now, and it's like a great time of the year.
Yeah, both of you still need to turn your friggin' ballots, and I think I'm going to start bothering everybody on the air about it, because you got like 2 weeks left, I think, or maybe more than that. I forget I think the date's January 10th, but yeah, so it's award season. It's end of year season, exciting stuff, and we'll go over all those Wrestle Kingdom week shows for these, because all these promotions pretty much have big shows coming up. And also joining me today is Paul. Hello, Paul. I'm glad you're able to make it this time with the Jitsi actually working.
Yeah, I'm happy. I actually did a test run earlier today just to make sure it works, and there's still some stuff that doesn't quite work for me, but at least I can actually hear people and I can actually talk this time around.
Yeah, so that's definitely a good thing. Also, I know as soon as you're done with this, you're going to see the Star War, which has very normal reactions online.
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunate that we couldn't record this after I was done with the movie, because then I could have given you all of my hot takes on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Have you seen it, Thomas, or no?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get around to it, I guess. I'm not really in a rush, but I don't know. I mean, I never even saw Last Jedi in theaters. I ended up seeing it like 6 months later or whatever. So I guess it's not it's not like a pressing need on my part, but maybe I'll see it in theaters. I don't know. As far as Omakase goes this week, we're going to get into a lot of different promotions, so let's just get started. The miscellaneous Puro thing, it's a new thing this year. Last year we did All Japan and Big Japan, and the main one I really didn't know if I had enough to discuss and do a whole episode this year is Big Japan, because I haven't seen a ton of them. I only saw, like the bigger shows. All Japan I still watch quite a bit, so we can start by talking about them. They had a really interesting year. It's the best way I can put it. I mean, there's still like a lot of high-end wrestling here. A lot of stuff that's on, my match of the year and like my very high on my match, my best matches of 2019 spreadsheet. So like the match quality is still very high. The Triple Crown title matches are still really good. There's been some good tag title matches, and the Champion Carnival had some really good stuff. But the booking has gotten increasingly suspect. And, I know Joe Lanza ranted about that on the flagship a few weeks ago. And, it's not awful, I don't think. But, like, they make some decisions that are, like, very, very curious. And, I like a lot of the times I just don't know like what the goal is. Like it feels like the goal is to make Jake Lee and Naoya Nomura, but like a lot of the times it feels like they don't know how to do it exactly, and it feels very haphazard. So I don't know. Do you have anything to add about the general All Japan booking this year?
Well, I mean, I think the wrestling is still top notch, especially in the main event scene. I think it's arguably the best promotion in the world. In terms of match quality, but the booking has been, increasingly confusing, I guess is the way to put it. So you have the time you mentioned a couple weeks ago on the flagship during the Tag League finals, where Jake Lee gets a big pin on Kenta to set up the title challenge for January. And then in the main event, they book themselves in a situation where the team of Leo Nomura has to lose to Violent Giants again. And so, like, I don't see why you put yourself in that situation where you have to beat them in that big spot, and especially pin Nomura again. So it's like, on the one hand, I get, obviously, you wanted Violent Giants to win the tournament. I mean, I can get that. But you don't put yourself in a situation where you have to beat your two big up-and-coming stars on, like, one of your bigger shows of the year in a tournament final.
For the third time this year by that team.
Right, yeah. Exactly. At least have them get the win over Violent Giants in the tournament instead of having them get swept this year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I actually read about that in, like, my review of the show as well, and it just doesn't make any sense. If you really want to make these two, then they have to be, like, it's wrestling booking 101. Like, it's both Ishikawa and Suwama don't need to be protected at all. They're both on the downside of their careers. They can take the loss. Like, it's actually perfect. They should be right now. They should be in the stage of their career where in this exact scenario, they take the loss to put over the new guys. And I know that they kind of vowed to, like, disband as a team if they weren't going to win the tournament. And I love the Violent Giants. Like, they're my favorite tag team. But if they have to go out, that's the perfect time for them to go out. Like, in the finals of the tournament against the new up-and-comers, like, that's when you take the loss and you have to disband as a team, because that's really the best way for them to go out. Because realistically, like, what would be a better way for them to disband as a team? Realistically, how it's going to end now is one of them is going to get injured and is going to have to retire, and that's how the team ends. Like, there isn't really a better way for them to, like, end as a team together than it would have been for them to lose in the finals of the Tag League.
Yeah. I mean, so the booking is an issue. It feels like the attendance has stagnated. I think if you look at the whole year, it's like very slightly down from last year, right? I think that's correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like
I think it's a bit down, yeah. I think I kind of came onto the half-year episode of Omakase as well, and I think I kind of, like I said, that I really liked the first half of the year, but I did have some concerns kind of for the second half of the year, because the roster is very shallow, and that they were gonna struggle to kind of find, like, credible challengers for Kento in the second half, and I think it's played out exactly like that. Because if you look at it, who he actually, like, faced, it was like he faced those who he's beaten like a million times for Triple Crown. He faced Naoya Nomura, who he already faced earlier this year for the title, and then he faced Jake Lee for the title, like in October, who he beat in the Champion Carnival's final, and who he's going to face again now in January. Like, it's getting really ridiculous. Like, I know he's not good. He has improved, but I know he's not good. But like, God damn it, I know that like the January show is a big show for them, but could you not have given the title shot to like Gianni Valletta? He has beaten him twice.
Okay, let's calm down. Let's calm down.
They didn't want to do it for like the.
I don't know about Gianni Valletta.
I think it was because of Wrestle Kingdom weekend. Because if you remember, like this, that's like you got so many like foreigner fans there, and you got like they get like so much buzz out of that. And I mean, Kento and Kai this year got so much buzz from like Meltzer right about and stuff. I think they wanted to put up a match that could get that kind of buzz, which obviously would not have been Kento and Gianni Valletta, but maybe on like a different type of show. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a very weird year because I like a lot of what they've done, like as far as the in ring, but the booking is really hard to defend. And you know, let me go through it a little bit. I guess that the first thing I want to talk about that was a really good match was the Kento Miyahara and Suwama on February 24th at the Excite Series. That match is awesome, and you know, one of the best Triple Crown matches of the year. That was at the Yokohama Bunka Gymnasium. You know, so and then like it's basically like, again, one of the issues I had when I tried to go through and pick my award winners is that All Japan did not really have like any obvious candidates for best major show, because I don't know, like so many of these shows just didn't have the depth of I think they didn't really have like a big super card, you know? Like they had a bunch of Korikens, you know, they had a couple Yokohama shows and then the Osaka #2 show. At least last year they had Osaka, they ran Osaka #1. Like they didn't run a big show of that level. The closest I guess would be the
Kento Suwama match.
Yeah, the
Yokohama Bunka, yeah.
Yeah, but like if you want to count like the Destroyer show or the like the Memorial shows, but like they clearly wasn't just them. So I don't know. It's a very weird year for them where they kind of retreated basically. Like the years before they did Sumo Hall. Last year they did Osaka #1, Ideon #1. This year they didn't do anything really on that level. So it's like, you know, they just never ran a card that had that kind of like really stacked lineup that, you know, other promotions would have run. Like even like Big Japan, you have Ryogokutan, you know, you even have God, what the hell's the name of the other one? the one they run in May. It's like
Endless Survivor.
Endless Survivor. Thank you. Yeah. I kept thinking Death Survivor.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like those shows are more, you know, at least they're deeper shows than anything you're getting from All Japan. But you know, maybe it's just probably a thing where they don't have the roster depth to do those kind of shows, I guess, and still have big matches ready. But I don't know. There's rumblings they might try to run Sumo Hall in 2020, right? Isn't that what somebody said?
Yeah, Kento. I think they should. I mean, if Big Japan can do it and still, I guess, be afloat every year, I think All Japan can do it. And I mean, you have connection.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say, Paul?
They did actually draw pretty decently last time they ran Sumo Hall, if I remember correctly. So I don't really know why they haven't done it in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So wasn't that like the weird sponsor show?
No, that was the one before.
That was the one before. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like, I think they should try it again for sure. We'll see if they do. But you know, it is what it is, I guess. But they didn't have a lot of great like super cards. Is a point I'm making. They didn't have a lot of great like deep shows. They had some really good high end matches. You know, their undercard tags can be pretty fun sometimes, but you know, it also depends on the match. The Champion Carnival Tour. It was a really good Champion Carnival. I think that's pretty. I think most people are in agreement about that. There were like a few nights towards the start that maybe weren't that interesting, but once you get to like Osaka, like night 7 and 8, and then especially those shows they did in Sapporo were just full of good stuff. Especially like you have that Yuji Kobayashi and Zeus match that kind of like went I don't know, like got a lot of talk up on Twitter, and then that show also had a great Suam and Jake Lee match in the same show. But like the core, and then it ends with 3 really good Korikens. So definitely, I would say this was a really good champion carnival.
It was a great carnival, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember the 2018 one. The 2018 one might have been very slightly better, but this was still really good.
2018 one was one with Yuji Hito, right?
Yeah,
he had some really good stuff. I missed him.
Yeah, Shingo as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I still think this was a very good carnival, though. So these two are big.
Yeah, no, I would say actually that probably like the last nights in Korakuen were probably that was probably the closest you could get to like a super card with All Japan, really, when they had like really strong like final matches for the blocks.
Yeah.
So, but those are probably most stacked shows they had all year.
I mean, that April 8th show, especially because you got that bonus Jake Lee and Nomura match at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about the B block finals?
Yeah, the B block final, yeah. So that was really good. But yeah, overall, really good champion carnival. Kento ended up winning as champion, beating Jake Lee in the final. What did you think about that decision? Was that a good decision?
I think they wanted to give Kento a carnival win because he hadn't won one. And I guess Lee being in that spot makes sense if you want to put Kento over. Do I think Kento necessarily needed the win? I mean, obviously he didn't need it. I just think they felt it was something they wanted to do. A champion hadn't won the carnival in a while either. So I guess to keep things fresh, I don't think many people expected it or saw it coming until the tournament was close to being over. Like, oh, well, Kento's still in it. But him beating Okabayashi, I think, was a little bit of a surprise. And then I think everyone knew it was going to be Lee once he got there. And when you have a star of that magnitude, I guess it makes sense to just give him whatever accomplishments you can. At the same time, do I think Nomura or Lee was ready for a carnival win? Maybe. I mean, you had Lee win Royal Road later in the year, which is, I realize, not on the same level, but close. And I'd expect Nomura to win the carnival next year, but you never know with All Japan. But I think it was maybe not what I would have done necessarily, but I think the consensus pick coming in was Okabayashi. So it wasn't like they were going to put over a big new star, and they decided to put Kento over instead. So I think it was maybe not what I would have done, but a reasonable booking decision.
Yeah, I think it was fine as well. I get that they probably didn't want to take the title off of Kento as well, so that's why it makes sense for him to win the carnival as well. Because otherwise you just have someone win the carnival and then lose against Kento again, which isn't ideal. And I mean, Nomura, I think the promotion was actually somewhat surprised by how much he actually broke out in that match with Kento, in a title match with Kento just before the carnival. And I think it would have been an idea to kind of pull the trigger and have him win the carnival while he was hot. But then he would have had to immediately go back in and then lose against Kento again in a title match. Although I suppose they just did it again later in the year anyway, and he lost again. So I guess they could have had him win the carnival there too. But I think overall it was still the right decision to give it to Kento on there.
And then I guess the next thing we should unfortunately mention is poor Tsuchiya Aoki, passing away on June 3rd. Just a terribly tragic accident that I'm sure really had a lot of effects on the promotion as far as the rest of their year. Not just even with their, obviously he just won the junior title, but he was such an important part of the the management team and the booking and all that, and obviously just to lose a wrestler that by all descriptions was a great guy, just a really, really nice guy for everyone who seemed to know him, at that very young age of 41, just really, really tragic. My very first trip to Japan, I think I told the story already, but we were walking around the Suidobashi train station area, and I was there with Joey Bay, a guy I've had on the show before, and he just, he happened to see Aoki out of the corner of his eye, and he was like, recognized him, and just shouted out to him and went up to him, and Aoki was just like, he was so humble and just so stunned to be recognized by a foreigner. He was like, he just asked like in English, like, how you know me? It was just very funny. But yeah, he was like super, super nice and like took pictures, and yeah, it was I don't know, just really, really sad. So
yeah. And I think also what we kind of realized as well, kind of after his death as well, was how important he probably. I mean, we kind of knew that he was involved in the backstage of All Japan, but I don't think we actually realized like how much of a cornerstone of the entire organization of the promotion he actually was, because it was pretty much immediately noticeable, like that there was just a giant hole there all of a sudden that I think they're still somewhat struggling to actually like fill.
Yeah, it's just so sad. It's one of those things, if I think about it at all, it just makes me very sad. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And the junior title, I like the decision they made to just, to not rush to fill that title. I think it was a very respectful decision, and I think just we as we're talking here, we still don't have a junior champion. I mean, the tournament is finally underway, and it's going to conclude January 3rd, right? I believe.
Yeah, the semis are on the 2nd, and then the finals are on the 3rd.
Yeah, so they basically had no junior champion for like the entire second half of the year, which I think it's a very I like that decision. I think they did I think that's it was a good choice to honor Aoki. But yeah, so I don't know. It's a very downer topic, but I feel like we had to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else here. Kento defended the Triple Crown against Yoshitatsu. I don't even remember that match.
It was surprisingly
No, that
good.
was Darkside Yoshitatsu.
Oh yeah, okay. I think I do remember that now.
And they drew like a surprisingly really good house for it too. Like,
people like Yoshitatsu. I don't know. I don't know if that's really properly understood by some people. But I'm looking through their summer. How was the Junior Tag Battle of Glory? I don't think I saw it. Pretty much any
Junior
of that.
Tag Battle of Glory?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch that. I did watch the Junior Battle of Glory.
Yeah, sorry, like that is the most inconsequential tournament in all of wrestling. All Japan doesn't even have Junior Tag Title. There's literally nothing you win in that tournament.
Don't you win an All Asia shot or something?
No one ever talks about it ever again, and like you don't get a title shot, you don't get anything out of it. Like, sorry. I think, didn't Joe do like day-to-day coverage of that tournament? He was probably the only one that actually watched it.
I think Thomas is right. You do get a All Asia shot because Hikaru Sato and Yusuke Okada won it on July 28th, and they got an All Asia title shot against Jake Lee Iwamoto on August 24th. They did not win though, so they
almost always lose.
The July 28th show also had the Kento Zeus Triple Crown title match, which obviously I think it would be a stretch to say it was bad. It clearly wasn't bad, but it was clearly still an awesome match. But probably, I mean, I would say definitely not to the level of that match in October.
No,
I'm trying to remember what the fuck I gave it. So let me see if I can find my rating. So the fact that I don't even remember it that well would imply I probably didn't rate it very highly. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I did actually really like that match. I think I gave it like 4 1/4, 4.5 stars. But like the thing about Kento's year is I think his average title match for me is like 4.5 stars. So to some extent, they all blend together.
Yeah.
Like he's had
it's not on my 4-star.
Maybe you didn't give it
spreadsheet. Yeah, I guess I didn't even give it 4. Man, no, I watched it, but it wasn't the. Well, what are you gonna do? I mean, look, the Woman Zeus last year was like a 4 3/4 star match for me, and
that match was incredible.
This did not get close to that level for me. But yeah, I mean, like it was diminishing returns though, because that show, last year when they made evented with Zeus winning the title in Osaka #1, it drew like 2,000 fans, I believe, which, isn't great for 80 on number 1, but I mean, still like 2,000 fans. And here, this drew an 80 on number 2, so they didn't even try to run 80 number 1 this time. This drew 886. So that is a really big drop. And a lot of promotions had trouble drawing in Osaka last year, not just All Japan, but that's a pretty terrible number.
Yeah.
I mean, really no way to spend that.
Yeah. I think they keep kind of overestimating how much of a draw Zeus actually is in Osaka.
Yeah.
I mean, he's from there, but he probably isn't like a big draw for Osaka. Like, he obviously has his fans there, but not to the level that the promotion really expected, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the title win there last year felt like a huge deal, but there's must be diminishing returns to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September 3rd had the Korakuen where Kento beat Nomura. That match was awesome. I went 4.5 stars on that.
4 3/4 for me. It was just tremendous stuff.
Nomura, I mean, he looked, if anything, ready to take the title there. And he did not pull the trigger, but I kind of wish they had, honestly.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I get that they want to get Kento to kind of break the record, but I honestly think, like, what does All Japan need right now more? To have Kento have, like, another kind of somewhat achievement, or to have, like, another guy that is kind of on his level? And I think they probably need more need someone that is on his level rather than just give another accolade to Kento.
I mean, I guess we can talk about this when we're previewing the shows a little later, but I think people are underrating the chances that Kento loses to Jake Lee on January 3rd. Yeah.
The Royal Road tournament was after that, which it was a strange tournament. The first round I did not think was very good. Like, it just didn't peak very high at all. But then the second round was awesome. Like, the second round had Kento and Jiro, which was great, and I liked that Ishikawa and Takizawa match a lot more than a lot of people seem to, and Zeus and Nomura was awesome. But yeah, it was or maybe it was Jake Lee and Kai. I don't know. One of those two matches on that show were really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, it was a very, very good second round. And the semifinals and finals were good, but, like, not as good as they could have been. Like, the Kento Zeus match was pretty good. Jake Lee and Shuji, which is a really weird with a weird finish, and then the final with Jake Lee beating Kento, it almost felt too easy in that moment. I don't know, because, like, I remember we talked about it on the episode. Like, it just felt like Jake kind of just, like, dropped him with a backdrop, and that was it. And I was like, this man is usually, like, unkillable when the title's on the line, and you just, like, backdrop him once and 1, 2, 3. It just felt very cheap. Like, I don't know. It felt like you should have had to kill him to pin this man finally, and I didn't like the way they did it at all to finish. So that was my big complaint.
I think I was maybe the outlier on that match, but I adored that final with Lee and Kento. I went 4 3/4 on it. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember it enough to fully, like, remember your criticism, but I'm pretty sure, like, it was the type of thing where, like, the backdrop is pretty over. And I think Kento kicked out of one and then he hit the second one. I feel like that's what happened. But I mean, I have 4 3/4 written down, and I remember just being, like, so into that match while I was watching it, and I feel like the atmosphere was really, really great. And I don't think they hit that level in the title challenge that followed, which I realize is an outlier take.
Yeah, we're complete reversal there.
We're a very outlier take there, but I preferred this very much the title challenge that followed, but it's just me.
What do you think of the tournament, Paul?
Yeah. Pretty much. I didn't like it as much as I think I liked the one last year.
Last year
overall, I guess it was fine. There was nothing like bad in it either, but I don't think there was really a lot of memorable stuff either. I think really the final was the most memorable thing, with Jake finally overcoming Kento. And the match overall, it was fine. Wasn't really like a blowaway match for me either. I think I kind of liked the Champion Carnival match a bit better.
I did
but
too.
Obviously, like, I think overall, though, it was like the right decision to have Jake over there, because otherwise you're just completely, like, destroying Jake if you have him lose against Kento in, like, 2 tournaments in the same year.
October 24th had the title match at Korakuen. And this was the Kento and Jake Lee match that I absolutely loved. I went 4 3/4 on this one, which is probably even a little higher than a lot of people, but I thought this match was just incredible. They really like hit just a really, really high level for me as far as like just the two of them like killing each other at certain parts, and the crowd being super, super into it. And I don't know, it hit that extra level for me. Almost match of the year, almost 5 stars, but really, really close. And definitely my All Japan match of the year here. So I thought this was incredible.
Crazy how we're flipped on this, because I think I was like 3 3/4 on this, and I went 4 3/4 on the other one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of wild. I think part of it was just me being. I mean, the result I think might have tampered my enjoyment a little bit, potentially, because I did come into this thinking that Jake had a decent shot of winning the title. I definitely didn't expect it, but I was hoping for it just because. Paul was mentioning it earlier, just the Kento reign feels so played out. And I mean, to be honest, like we could be looking up 6 months from now and Jake Lee has the title and business is just tanking. But I think you have to try something new soon. Like if Kento is still the champion after the carnival, which I don't think he will be, but if he is, I think that is just a huge booking failure on the part of All Japan to not even try to push one of the two young guys. Just give him a shot, with the title and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think kind of Kento has kind of taken the title kind of as far as he can by himself, or he has taken the promotion as far as he can by himself, and he just needs someone else to be there as well. So I didn't necessarily dislike the decision here to not put the title on Jake, but I do think that they kind of should put it on him in January and just try and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then you can always have him like lose the title to whoever wins Champion Carnival.
All right. So then pretty much after that it's Real World Tag League, which I will be honest, I didn't watch any of. I have to go back and check some of it out at some point. I just didn't have time. So do you guys have anything to say about Real World Tag League? How was it this year?
I really liked it. I mean, it had the greatest tag team of all time in it, which is why I volunteered to review all of their matches with Takashi Yoshida and Gianni Valletta. And I mean, all kind of joking aside, I actually was somewhat positively surprised by their matches as well, because I actually expected them to be bad, but they were actually mostly entertaining. And I think they definitely were like way worse teams than them in the league overall. I think overall it was a pretty strong tournament, but there was a very clear kind of difference in kind of the level of performers that were in the tournament. So there was a very, very clear difference between like the level of teams that were in the tournament. So for example, you had like your really good teams with the Violent Giants and Yuma Aoyagi and Kento Miyahara, and then your Jake Lees and Naoya Nomura's, and those were like the really kind of great teams. And then kind of in the middle there, you actually had Yoshida and Valletta and Doring and Akiyama. And then kind of more towards the bottom, you had like Tajiri and Kai, who are not great. And then Joel Redman and Yoshitatsu, who both of them like individually actually somewhat like, depending on the opponent. But in this tournament, like every time I was reviewing a match of theirs, I was like, generally the way I do it is like I watch the match and I take notes while I watch the match, and then I write a review afterwards. And every single time afterwards, I just was staring at pretty much nothing there for my notes, because it was just their matches were generally such complete nothings and just their matches that it was just a massive struggle to write about them. But I think overall, like the high-end stuff in the tournament was really high enough. Like for all of the complaining I did about the booking of the final show, is like those kind of like final 3 matches there they had with Miyahara and Aoyagi against Lee and Nomura, and then which was one of the best tag matches I've seen all year. And then the Tajiri and Kai match against the Giants, which was just hilarious, where Tajiri just completely gets punked out in like 2 minutes. Was awesome. And then you have like the final itself, which, wonky booking aside, was like really, really strong match as well. So I think overall, like the strong stuff in the tournament was strong enough to kind of counterbalance the bad stuff that was also there in the tournament.
All right. That was definitely a thank you for that thorough review. Definitely made me want to check it out. So, what did you think, Thomas? Anything to add?
I have not watched any of the tag league.
Okay.
I set an alarm this morning. I was like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna watch at least the hype stuff, and I slept right through it. And so
it's fine. I mean, Paul has us covered. Apparently,
Paul 100% has enough real world tag league knowledge for the three of us.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check out at least the final show and
yeah,
hype stuff from the rest.
I do too. But time is a valuable commodity.
It most certainly is.
So let's go ahead and wrap up the year. I would say, again, I enjoy it. I watch the Corkins. I watch the big shows. I tune in for other random stuff that gets hyped. Actually, one more story before we wrap up the year. The Sweeper ended, which was the Jake Lee stable, and now we have Jin, which is like Jake Nomura. I mean, look, it makes more sense than how Nomura teamed with Jake Lee, but was it in Sweeper? That made no fucking sense. So, just having the three of them be a unit, I guess, makes a lot more sense than that weird ass setup. But what a weird name, Jin. I mean, I know it's also like a kanji too. Sorry.
To be fair, it seemed to be kind of an All Japan tradition to have like a long-term tag team, but they're not in the same faction where Violent Giants have been teaming for years, but Ishikawa isn't in Evolution. And then you had Yoshitatsu and Kento teaming, but then Yoshitatsu wasn't in Extreme. And then you had like Jake Lee and Nomura, but then Nomura wasn't in Sweeper. So I guess that was just kind of an All Japan tradition to do it that way. But I do kind of like it more than kind of a unit now, although I don't really get why they had to change the name. They could have just kicked Sai out of Sweeper and just kept Sweeper around, because otherwise I don't really see what the difference is.
Well, it's Jin now. I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the other big thing. So to wrap up their year, again, good matches, really good matches, some really, really high end stuff. If you look at my 4-star plus spreadsheet, I mean the promotion you're going to see the most of is obviously New Japan, but then after that it's probably All Japan. I mean, there's just a ton of high end All Japan matches this year, but it's just the booking still leaves a lot to be desired. I think the Kento reign has gotten pretty stale, and it's I would like to see them try something new, and maybe Jake Lee will win on January 2nd, but I think it's time to try it. And it's clearly not just the booking is stagnated, but the attendance has as well. So, they're not really like going up anymore. So like we want to see, they need to try something different, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's probably the promotion that I've enjoyed the most from an in-ring perspective at the top of the card this year, even more than New Japan. I think the Triple Crown matches have just been far and away better than any other major title matches in any promotion this year.
Well, that I agree with, actually. The IWGP title, like outside of, I think the only title matches I really liked were Okada Suzuki.
Yeah, that was great.
And I guess the Okada Sonata, like King of Pro Wrestling one, not the Jontaku one. But yeah, I mean, Okada, like pretty much all of New Japan's best matches this year were in tournaments.
Yep.
And like the actual IWGP Heavyweight title was not like it wasn't some classic reign or anything from Okada, and just really wasn't.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So, but that being said, as much as I've enjoyed Kento from an in-ring perspective, and I've enjoyed him so much, I mean, but I think it's time for a change. And if there's Lee on 1-3, and then if that doesn't happen, Nomura in the Carnival, one of those two things has to happen, I think. Like, has to happen for this promotion to keep moving forward. Because, I mean, the Kento reign a couple years ago is what brought the company back. But you can see it stagnating now, and even maybe slightly declining. I know Corkins are down. They've also ran Corkin a lot more. So I'm not sure how much of that is fans losing interest versus just overrunning Corkin. But I mean, I think it's time for a change for sure. And I want to maybe see Kento with the tag titles for 6 months or something. I mean, that would be nice. Just a new, breath of fresh air at the top of the card would be really nice. But that being said, I think in-ring wise, it's been just a tremendous product this year.
Any final thoughts to add, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same for me as well. I think I probably came off a little bit more negative on this overall than I actually feel on the promotion. It's just because I love it, so I'm slightly annoyed by the missteps that they've kind of taken this year. But yeah, overall in ring, I think Kento is still like beyond any doubt. And if they kind of get someone there to step up, then they tend to step up as well. Like I think a perfect example of that was Naoya Nomura early in the year, where like that Triple Crown title match was just a complete breakout for him as a potential future star. And I think overall, like if they kind of play their cards right next year, I think there's still a lot of potential for the promotion to grow, but they just have to be brave enough to just pull the trigger next year, and I think then they'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. So let's quickly look ahead at All Japan has 2 upcoming shows during Wrestle Kingdom week. The traditional January 2nd and 3rd Korakuens. The cool thing about these shows for us Americans is they're both on early enough that you can definitely check them out live, even if you're not one of these people that can just stay up in the middle of the night all the time, which I wish I was still, but I'm not, unfortunately. January 2nd, Thursday, January 2nd, it's 11:30 a.m. It'll air Wednesday the 1st at 9:30 p.m. if you're Eastern time in the U.S. It's main evented by Zeus and Ryuji Sai defending the All Japan World Tag Team titles against the Violence Giants, Suwama and Shuji Ishikawa. Also have the New Year's Battle Royal, the traditional thing they do every year. 2 semifinals in the World Junior Heavyweight Title Tournament with Koji Iwamoto facing Dragon Gate's Suzumu Yokosuka, and then Hikaru Sato against Dragon Gate's Kagetora. And then we also have a couple other guest stars here. We have Masanobu Fuchi, the Great Sasuke, and Tajiri taking on Abdullah Kobayashi, Frank Atsushi, and Great Kojika. And then we have Keisuke Okada, Atsuki Oyagi, and Dan Tamura against Akira Francesco, Hayato, and Danny Jones. So there you go. Is that Hayato Jr. Fujita?
I believe so.
So because I know he just came back, so that's pretty cool.
The main event of that show should be really great. I really enjoyed their match earlier this year. I think it was 4 1/4 on it from the September Korakuen with Violent Giants against Sai and Zeus. That was the match where it was basically Zeus like carrying his team to the win. Really great match.
Yeah. So that's exciting. We'll see who wins. But the bigger show of the two is the January 3rd on Friday at 11:30 a.m. again. So again, 9:30 p.m. on the 2nd Eastern time. This has Kento Miyahara versus Jake Lee for the Triple Crown title as the main event. The final of the World Junior Heavyweight Title Tournament with the 2 winners. And then the 2 losers will be in a 6-man tag team match with a bunch of other junior heavyweights. And you also have a couple other 8-man tags, really nothing that big. But the important thing, obviously, is Kento and Jake Lee. Does Jake Lee finally beat Kento? Do we hashtag stop the Kento, or are we going on to Kento setting that record? I guess we'll find out. But those 2 shows look pretty good. I'm excited to watch them. I'll probably check them out live since the time works out so well.
Yeah. I think it's clear that All Japan sees Lee ahead of Nomura still. And I thought there was maybe a time in the middle of the year where I thought, okay, Nomura might have passed him. But it's clear. I mean, both of them have had singles matches against Kento this year. But I think it's important that Lee's matches against Kento have been the finals of the Royal Road and the finals of the Champion Carnival. I mean, those are 2 really big spots, I think, even more than just a normal Triple Crown match. And so I think Lee could win the title here. I think there's a good chance that he does. I don't know if I want to predict it outright. Coming in, a month ago, I would have said I think Nomura is winning the Carnival and beating Kento. But I have a feeling in the back of my head, I'm probably 60-40 But I think Jake Lee walks out January 3rd with the title. That's a big spot to get some buzz. You're going to get a lot of eyes on you. That's probably going to be maybe your most watched match of the year just because of the timing of it and how publicized it'll be. You want to make a guy in Jake Lee. I think that's the spot you do it in.
And you also could set it up as like another rematch for Sumo Hall if they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, if people are very down on Jake Lee, and I get it, but like if he shows the kind of fire he showed at times against Kento last year, I think he's totally fine as champion. But maybe it's a huge mistake, maybe it craters the company. No way to know until you try. But like clearly, just going on right now is not really doing anything for you. So I don't know. What do you think, Paul? Do you think there's any chance Kento loses the belt here?
I mean, until recently, I would have said no. I do think now maybe that there is a bit more of a chance. I'm still not very confident that Jake is going to win the title here, even though he really, really should, because otherwise he will just become that tall nerd.
Yeah.
And I think he has about a 30% chance of walking out with the title here, so we'll see.
So there you go. That's All Japan's here. Let's move over to Pro Wrestling Noah. Noah is a promotion that like I think has got a lot of hype in certain corners. To a degree, I totally get it because they're doing some stuff that's very different from, what everybody else in Japanese wrestling is doing. Like they, embracing like certain elements of like, I don't want to say like Inokiism, but like almost like more of that style, but like, bringing in, Kaz Fujita and, having Hideki Suzuki in big matches and stuff. Like they're more open to that, I guess, than some other promotions. On the other hand, they're very clearly like aping New Japan in a lot of different ways when it comes to like calling the Global League get renamed to the N1 Victory and, the GHC Heavyweight the GHC Heavyweight title that might as well be like a fucking IWGP Heavyweight title cosplay. Some stuff like that. I mean, clearly they're trying to market themselves as like, New Japan, but slightly different. So that is interesting, I guess. They introduced a secondary heavyweight title, which they haven't had in, like 15 years with the GHC national title. So some interesting moves there. A lot of different, obviously the green mat is gone now, and they have the different logo and stuff, which took some time to get used to. But definitely once I got used to it, it's pretty easy to, It feels natural now, so that's good. There's a lot of stuff where I will check them out and like, they get a lot of hype in some circles and, I'll be like, well, that was a 3.5 star match. I mean, that was good, but like, I've definitely seen better. Like there was it was a Hideki Suzuki match. And I normally like Hideki quite a bit, not all the time, but a lot of his stuff does connect with me. But there's some Hideki match.
Was it against Go?
It was against Go, yeah, the 30-minute draw.
God, I hated that match.
I didn't hate it. I thought there was like some stuff that I was like, wow, I totally get why people like this so much. Like I don't dislike that I sat down and watched it, but like it definitely also did drag, and it, by the end of it, I was like, yep, that was a good little 3.5 star match. I don't regret watching it, but it's not going to be like a match of the year type thing for me. Then there was some stuff even that I liked more than I think some of the Noah fans seem to like Kano and Kiyomiya from Noah the Best. I mean, I was like 4.25 on that, and I think a lot of people seem to hate it for some reason, but I thought that was a really...
Oh, that was really good, yeah. I went 4 on it, yeah.
That was a really awesome, like, main event style match that maybe didn't quite... I mean, they were trying to go for, like, match of the year. It didn't quite get to that level, but, like, I thought it was still a pretty awesome match. So, it's a very up and down year for me. Most of what I tuned in for, I enjoyed. There wasn't so much that, like... There was a lot of stuff I didn't see at all, so I'll just say that get that out of the way right away. But like a lot of stuff I tuned in for, I thought was good, but not quite like maybe at the level I saw it hyped. Some of the stuff was legitimately really good, and I mean, this will spoil my final thoughts, I guess, in the awards. But I mean, I thought they put on one of the best supercards of the year with the Noah the Best battle of aesthetics at Sumo Hall. I mean, that was a really good return to Sumo Hall for them, and it drew really well as far as what people were expecting going in. Like I thought going in, anything above 3,000 would be a success for them, and they did 5,500. So very very strong number there, almost as good as DDT did. And the show was just a really good show filled with a bunch of matches I enjoyed, and a bunch of guest stars and some stuff that it felt like a big show and a big deep supercard. So one of my favorite shows of the year. In Axes is the one thing where I'm just they are. I mean, Go Shiozaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima, they deserve all the hype they've gotten. They were an incredible tag team this year, and pretty much everything I saw them in was really good.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I definitely want to even go back and check out more of their stuff, but everything I saw was really good. So those are my macro Noah thoughts.
No, I mean,
oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, definitely. Kind of wonky team name aside, they've been pretty great overall. Yeah, I think they will probably pop up for at least a few of us in rankings later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what do you think of the promotion as a whole? I guess, Tom. That's what was their 2019 like for you?
I ran really hot and cold on Noah throughout the year. There was a period where I went a few months without watching it, and there was a period where it was one of the promotions I was most excited to watch. I think their 2018 was much better, but I thought this year was really good too. I was just crazy about their 2018. I think Takashi Sugiura's GHC reign was probably close to the level of Kento's Triple Crown reign this year, in that I think it was the defining reign of 2018. So I didn't think it was really going to be possible to match that in my mind, but they had a solid year. From start to finish. I loved the Kaito and Keno stuff throughout the year, starting on 1-5 at the beginning of the year, 1-6 at the beginning of the year. I thought that match was really great, and continuing through the tag league, and then main eventing your Sumo Hall return with that match of the two young rivals instead of a Marufuji or a Sugiura title challenge. I thought showed some balls, and it paid off, and I'm really glad they did that. I thought the N1 was really good. There was a match, I want to say Sugiura and Go from the block finals that I was really crazy about. So yeah, I mean, overall, a good year. I thought I'm not big into the Noah Juniors personally. I know there are some people that are, but it's just not really my thing. But I thought their main event scene is really good. The tag scene was probably the best in the world, I want to say. I got to think about that for a second, but I want to say I enjoyed their tag stuff more than anyone. The tag league was really good as well. So yeah, I mean, a good year. It's just, I thought not as good as their 2018, but still a really good year.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I think overall it was a pretty strong year. Noah has never been a promotion for me where I watch the day-to-day like I do for All Japan, where I go in and watch single cam shows with no commentary from some village from on Shikoku. But I think for Noah, I mostly kind of go back and kind of watch the stuff that was kind of hyped and kind of the major shows, and everything I've seen there generally I enjoyed a lot when it was hyped up. Maybe as you mentioned as well, John, maybe not to the level that it was hyped up to before, but I think overall it was still a very strong year for the promotion. And I think most importantly, it was kind of a year of stabilization for them after they've just had a lot of turbulence in the previous years. And there wasn't really any kind of major kind of behind the scenes drama for them this year, which I think the promotion desperately needed.
Yeah, Nosawa is trying to be a very good booker, which, I guess it makes sense when you look at it always seems to be those kind of low card, scummy, has lots of friends in the business. I'm not really surprised, honestly, that Nosawa tried to be a really good booker. So
Nosawa out of the question.
Out of the question.
It kind of weirdly coincided with the disappearance of Black Tiger 7 from All Japan. I wonder where he's gone.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, so I think for sure, the promotion is definitely in a more stable place than they've been in a few years. They drew like I said, really strong number at Sumo Hall, which I think was among the better news they've gotten all year. And then we'll talk about they're doing really well for the start of next year too. So I think they have some real momentum. People are into their top stars, and I think Kaito is really catching on as a top champion. It's not that the promotion's like take it off into the fucking stratosphere or anything, but like they've accepted him in that role. So, and then they have like Congo, which is like a really cool like anti-authority unit with Kano and Kitamiya and Yoshiki Inamura, who's really coming out of nowhere this year to be a really strong young wrestler.
He's great.
Yeah, and you have Go and Nakajima that have been really good, and I think obviously as we talked about them as a tag team, but they probably will be a big part of the singles next year. I think I know it's a popular theory out there that like Nakajima might be the one to come out of the weeds and unseat Kaito next year, which I could definitely see happening. The national title is a new thing, but like Sugera, with the belt again is definitely a good thing, and I think that'll help with the drawing too. So just a ton of good stuff. I think they're really set up well for next year to have another strong year. So let's go ahead and look at their upcoming shows because they have a couple big ones. Wrestle Kingdom weekend. First of all, people laughed when they booked this. They decided to go head to head with Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, and the show is fucking sold out basically. So it worked out. I mean, I don't know if it's just like.
They stacked this show.
Yeah, it is a stacked card. It's called New Sunrise, 6:30 p.m. head to head at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, and they stacked the show. They really like went out of their way to make this show like a big deal. And I'm sure if you're like a certain type of fan in Japan, probably that like maybe is sick of New Japan or is just sick of them being the be all end all of wrestling over there to a degree that like to an even stronger degree than ever has in the past. I mean, you saw the same sentiment when like Shinshiro Takagi at Peter Pan last year announced the what's it called? The Saitama Super Arena show for the following year. And he had the old New Japan ring announcer there. And, the New Japan ring announcer said, like, don't let New Japan be the only winners in Japanese pro wrestling. It's boring if they're the only ones who can succeed. And the crowd cheered that like crazy. So there is definitely a certain type of Japanese wrestling fan that's like, we want somebody other than New Japan to be a big deal. And look, I've said this other people have said this too. Somebody should run against WrestleMania. Like, if you put up legitimately like Beyond, or I think it was Joe Lanza said that, like, or you put like Beyond or like some other fucking major indie and like put up a stack, they could draw like 1,000 fans or something.
Yeah, and you brand it as like against the Fed.
Yeah,
you're gonna draw.
But yeah, so this show, New Sunrise, sold out Korakuen. The main event is Kaito Kiyomiya versus Go Shiozaki, the G Superboy title. So as we just talked about, a big singles match here for Go. I don't think he'll win, but hopefully they produce a really good match here. Does anyone think Go is winning the heavyweight title?
No.
Okay.
But I think the match is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Hayata
defending the junior title against Ogawa. Tagashi Sugera defending the national title against Masa Kitamiya. Katsuhiko Nakajima versus Michael Elgin. Hopefully Elgin has a better showing here than he did at fucking Sumo Hall because that match sucked. Naomichi Marufuji and Minoru Tanaka versus Doug Williams and Chris Ridgway. And Kano and Yoshiki Inamura versus Hideki Suzuki and Kinya Okada. That could rule. I'm really excited for that one. As far as like undercard tag.
I'm kind of sneakily excited for the tag match before that as well. The Marufuji Tanaka versus Doug Williams and Ridgway, because Williams is retired. Like, his last match was like when he had like, I think at the start of this year when he had like a match, and I think that was actually in theory like the last booking he was like supposed to have, but like then they bring him back like this year again for another tag match. So I'm actually kind of wondering about that.
It's interesting. Thomas, any
and I think actually, I also think for people that might not actually know like the geography of Tokyo that well, when you say that they run like against Wrestle Kingdom, like it's not just that they run against Wrestle Kingdom at the same time. it's that they're pretty much running in the same place as well, because Korakuen Hall is just downstairs from the Tokyo Dome. So
yeah, I mean that is interesting. Like basically, you're going to be. I mean, you probably feel very rebellious. You know, like you're like, oh, everybody else is going to this giant Tokyo Dome, but I'm going right here to Korakuen, right next door to see Noah. So you know, it's definitely, I think, gives you that anti-authority, like the people that are dominating wrestling. So I think it was really smart by them, and you know it's easy to say that now in hindsight when the show sold out, but you know it was a very ballsy move, and I think it was clearly a good one.
I mean, Noah's been really ballsy this year, and I think it's paid off. I mean, they ran Eddie and One in a year where everyone was failing in Osaka, and they just blew everyone's expectations out of the water. They blew everyone's expectations out of the water at Sumo Hall. And then they're going to sell out a show running head-to-head with Wrestle Kingdom. And I think from a business perspective, at least, I think Noah's had a wildly successful year. Because this is going to be the third time, assuming this show sells out, that they've defied the expectations of, the Twitter intelligentsia. They're like, oh, why are they doing that? I mean, it's Noah. I mean, this is a promotion that, can't fill Korakuen half the time. Well, they're about to do it head-to-head with Wrestle Kingdom. And that's what you can do when you have hype around your promotion, coming off of a big Sumo Hall show. You got an exciting main event. I mean, I'm really excited for the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it, probably right after Wrestle Kingdom or whenever. I don't know when.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to go up for a week.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's January 5th has the Noah reboot show at Korakuen Hall, which this one is not head-to-head at Wrestle Kingdom. This is one of the shows you can, go to before Wrestle Kingdom that day. If you're in Japan, this one starts 11:30 a.m. at Korakuen, and Wrestle Kingdom's at 3 p.m. that day. So I mean, like Paul just said, you're a minute walk from Tokyo Dome, so it's not like you're gonna have any trouble getting into the dome. Maybe for the pre-show match, I don't know, but definitely pretty easy. But yeah, so that's the Noah reboot show. Now, talking about how they're aping New Japan in a lot of different ways, this is like a match card to be announced during the show. So this is clearly the New Year's Dash, like the big show the day before, and then the reboot show the next day. So that's going to be a mystery card. You'll get that when you, go to the show. So there you go. That's how Noah's starting their year off, and we'll see. I would be stunned if they didn't run Sumo Hall again. Like, why wouldn't you? So I guess we'll see.
They will.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely will. Yeah. It's just that, it's when will it become usable again because of the Olympics?
Yeah, that's true. So I think probably after the Olympics are over, right? Because there's a Paralympics too, I know, but that's when the fuck are the Paralympics?
Yeah. I think
okay, the Paralympics are over September 6th. So you'd think the venues would be usable by October, November.
Yeah, they could be doing the big,
but then obviously New Japan is gonna run. New Japan is gonna run Sumo Hall probably for the end of the G1 again.
Yeah. You heard that rumor too that they're moving back?
I would assume so, because otherwise they would have to find somewhere outside of Tokyo to run the finals of the tournament.
So I guess we'll see. But yeah, so that is the Noah talk. Let's move over to Big Japan. Big Japan, I don't know. They had a year. I mean, I definitely wouldn't call it a good year. I mean, I very much lost interest in their year, so maybe I'm not one to talk. But I used to always watch their monthly Korakuens, and I really didn't even do that this year. I just kind of dipped in when it looked interesting, which really wasn't that often. I mean, their booking at the best of times is very much okay. It feels like it's the closest to the CMLL booking hat that Lucha fans always talk about. But there were some highlights for sure, some high level matches. January 13th, they were mostly tags, honestly. January 13th, the two was Get Early Korakuen had an awesome tag match for the All Japan tag titles with Strong BJ beating Violence Giants. That was a 4.5-star tag match. I liked it better than the rematch in All Japan, which I think was a minority viewpoint, but I thought that one was awesome, the Big Japan one. The deathmatch stuff didn't really feel that interesting. I checked in a little bit for the tournament, but like nothing really.
Yeah, the tournament was a little down. There was some good Takeda stuff in the tournament. I really liked the 1-2 deathmatch title between Takahashi and Tsukamoto. But other than that, I mean, the deathmatch scene was obviously a step back from Takeda's really great run last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nothing was going to be able to follow that. So.
Right.
I actually, and for me, it was kind of a down year for Big Japan as well. And I didn't even kind of realize until like later that Kotaka had won the deathmatch title, which in theory, that's like one of my favorite wrestlers. And if I didn't even like realize that he like just won that title, like I think that's a bad sign kind of for the buzz that the promotion currently has. And I mean, if like complained a lot about the booking in All Japan, but like the booking in All Japan is genius level booking compared to the booking in Big Japan, which has just been awful. I mean, if you just look at like someone like Kawakami, who like got the big win against Okabayashi at the Sumo Hall show last year, and then he did absolutely nothing for the entire year this year. Like he didn't even get like one like strong title match out of it. Like the biggest thing
all
he
Asia
did
tag
all
champions.
year. Yeah, he got an all Asia tag team title match. Great, thanks.
I mean, that was awesome. That was an awesome match where he and Kikuta beat Lee and Iwamoto at Endless Survivor. That was like the highlight of a pretty bad Endless Survivor. Because that Endless Survivor on May 5th in Yokohama, that's usually one of, I mean, last year's I remember being an awesome show, and that's usually a really good show. But like here, you go in like, oh, Okabayashi gets Sekimoto for the strong title, and then they just kind of had it. That was like maybe the most disappointing match of the year in any promotion. I mean, it was just a fucking match, like a 3.25 star whatever match. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, who would think that Okabayashi and Sekimoto would have a match that disappointing? I don't know if it was just like Okabayashi was just coming off the champion carnival and he was just really tired, but like it was really not good, like for that level, But
to try and put some positive spin on their year. I mean, they've had the two really great tags that are match of the year contenders. Which Strong BJ and Violent Giants, and then
I'm going to get to that one. Yeah.
Okay, and the other one, and then also I think the big defining story of the year was Okabayashi and Nomura, and I'm not sure how much either of you saw of that, but they built that up. That match was announced, I want to say, like a couple months ahead of time, and they built it up through tags. And for the first month of the build-up, Okabayashi would just get Nomura at every turn, and then finally did a big Corkin tag. And Nomura finally beat Okabayashi in a tag, and then Okabayashi gets a win back, and then Nomura, they have a tag. I want to say at like Death Vegas or some like B-level Big Japan show between the two, and Nomura gets a tap out win, and then they have their big match, and finally it's like, okay, Nomura has proven he can beat this guy that's been so clearly better than him for so long, but he's finally proven he can beat him, and there's like just some great hope spots in the match that are callbacks to the tags where Nomura won. And that Okabayashi Nomura match, I mean, if you've seen the build-up tags, I mean, that's one of my favorite matches of the year. Just of the story of Nomura, just like fighting from underneath the whole time. And obviously it doesn't come up with the win, but that was a tremendous match that I think everyone needs to go out of the way to see. And I'd recommend watching at least some of the build-up tags as well, because they really help you appreciate the match that much more. It was this type of thing where for the first month, everyone was making fun of Big Japan for the booking. And by the end, I thought it was one of the better stories told in pretty much any company this year. And that was definitely the bright spot of the year for me in Big Japan.
And then a month later, he loses the title to Kohei Sato.
Well, we need to talk about that.
so
Daichi, oh my god.
Okay, so let's talk. We gotta get into that stuff too, though. That's good, and I agree. The Okabayashi Nomura stuff is good. But then a month later, he loses to Kohei Sato, who, he still brings something to the table. I didn't hate that, I guess.
That match was pretty good. That match was
good. But then Sato turns around and loses the belt to fucking Daichi. And like
in an absolutely horrifically awful match. That match was so bad.
Someone on here tried to defend it. I can't remember.
It was Jack.
Jack tried to defend it. And I was like, what the fuck? That match was so fucking bad.
I watched that show live, and I just remember like sitting there and watching. It's like, what is this? Like, who is this supposed to appeal to? Why is Daichi just lying there on the floor while like Koi Sato pretends to work him over and he's just screaming like he's being stabbed? Like, what is this?
Ospreay look like?
Yes, I was about to say that was like he was doing his Will Ospreay impression. I'm like when Ospreay was like at his worst last year with the fucking screaming. I'm like, he's like, Ospreay's toned it down. I'm bringing it back. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was. So
and I mean, it also had no heat as well. Like he like Koi Sato like did all this to like complete silence. You could hear a pin drop in Sumo Hall, like. And then he won, and then Daichi wins the title, and the crowd just was like, there was some polite clapping, but like not a lot. People were just like, "What? Why did he win?" Like, no, please don't.
Yeah,
I fell asleep live watching that match, and I was writing the review for the site, and I just fell asleep, could not stay into it.
I mean, I think Ryo Gokutan, I think is honestly a better show than some people give it credit for.
It's a weird show,
but it has like it's like a half really good show.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Japanese G1 Supercard, except there's only one company.
That's a really good analogy.
half the show is really good. I mean, I thought the main event with Izami and Yuka was really underrated. That was like a 4.25-star death match. The Blood and History death match was good. Sekimoto and Walter against Hino no Kobayashi. That's a 5-star match. That was an incredible tag team match.
Yeah,
One
that
of the
was
best matches of the entire year. And then the Strong Heart 6 fan was really good. Lia Nomura against Kikuta and Kawakami was good. But yeah, then it has like the openers were awful. The tax strip
junior match. Oh my god.
The junior match was awful. The strong match was awful. There's just some really terrible shit on the show. So yeah, I mean it's to me the good outweighed the bad enough that you'll see it later. But like it was just a really weird show, and they I totally get why some people are more negative on it. But there's enough really good stuff in the show that you definitely should go back and check it out if you didn't see it. But like yeah, there's also some really like head scratchingly terrible shit on it too. But yeah, so that tag match, Sekimoto and Walter against Hino no Kobayashi, I mean, that was an incredible match, and probably the kind of stuff people thought they were going to get from that Sekimoto Kobayashi singles match that we just inexplicably did not get. But yeah, Walter was incredible here, and again showing exactly what a waste it is that he's in World Wrestling Entertainment, because on a show that nobody watches, and then he turns around and jobs in like 5 minutes to fucking Drew McIntyre on Survivor Series like 2 weeks after this. It's just like, what is wrong with wrestling? Like, why is this man who is so clearly this fucking good and can step into Big Japan and have a 5-star fucking tag team match, then going and doing a 5-minute job for Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series? Just, like, wrestling is ridiculous when it comes to that, especially.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like I don't know. Like all I want to say on that is. Like how can like Daisuke Sekimoto look at that and be like, yeah, I want some of that too? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I guess money's a powerful thing, but so we have to say also that's a good transition. The rumors, obviously, that one of the things that's the cloud that hung over a lot of Japanese wrestling this year was the NXT Japan, and we talked a lot about a lot more in the Joshi episode because it led directly to. Bushiroad buying out Stardom, so because otherwise WWE probably would have bought them, and we would have ended up with Stardom as part of NXT Japan. But apparently, WWE made a lot of offers towards almost everybody under the sun in men's wrestling too. And we know like Dragon Gate turned them down, Noah turned them down. I've heard even DDT turned them down. But Big Japan could be the company that, huh?
They asked DDT.
Yeah, because I heard that rumor because remember they were part of the WWN thing,
right? Yeah,
so I think that was like WWE trying to like butter them up to buy them, and Cyber Agent was like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah,
but it's all I can say that for like $1 billion company, WWE is absolutely awful at M&A. Like it's actually kind of hilarious to see. Like I mean, if it makes sense if you look at the history of the promotion, like the biggest deals they ever made, like they got complete bargains, so it actually makes sense. And like when they went into Europe, obviously everyone immediately rolled over for them. Yeah. So it actually makes sense that they actually don't know how to make a proper offer to another company to buy it because they've actually never done it before.
Yeah, I mean the Japanese wrestling scene made the British, the UK, or Europe really, wrestling scene look even more ridiculous because they showed them how to properly resist WWE. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to insult Big Japan fans when I say this, but like if Big Japan ends up being the one that hooks up with WWE, it's not as big of a deal as if they bought out a lot of these other promotions. I mean, Big Japan's a weird promotion as it is, and it's half death matches, which WWE is going to have no use for anyway. I mean, if they want to have Daichi Hashimoto on NXT Japan, it's their business, I guess.
NXT Japan is Daichi Hashimoto. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I mean the talk of it has like died down a lot, so I don't know if that's just like what's going on there. But like if next year we find out it's like Big Japan Sendai Girls at NXT Japan, I think it could have been a lot worse. Like I think Noah Stardom or Dragon Gate Stardom or DDT Stardom, I think that would have been a lot bigger of a threat to the industry.
I mean, there's still some danger that they like get some people that like it's gonna hurt like other promotions. Like for example, if they somehow manage to get Kento, which is kind of why I want Sekimoto to stay as far away from Kento as possible for like all opportunities, like that would definitely massively hurt like all Japan. But like overall, like I mean, obviously NXT Japan doesn't have to be a success. Just like NXT like UK doesn't have to be a success. It just has to like kill the scene because that's really all they want to do. Yeah. Like it doesn't actually have to succeed. But I think still like if Big Japan like is actually the one that hooks up with WWE, like WWE already has like not like a good standing because they will be like the foreign invading company, which in Japan doesn't really have a good reputation. And then Big Japan, like even amongst like the Japanese like wrestling scene, I think overall doesn't necessarily have the best reputation either because it is kind of seen as a bit sleazy as well. So I think that would like further hurt them as well if that is actually like the ones that they hook up with.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Did either of you know Big Japan ran Yokohama Bunka this week? And they barely got over 1,000 fans.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
Right.
Kobayashi.
Well, to be fair, like if you look at the drawing numbers in Korakuen, like they fluctuate widely, but they often stay below 1,000 there too. So.
Yeah.
So that was Abdul Kobayashi beat Izami Kodaka for the deathmatch title. Yeah. You also had Sekimoto and Kohei Sato winning the vacant tag titles. Not really a ton else on that show really, other than the Strong Hearts invasion continued and Aoki
and Hashimoto, that could have been good.
Yeah, I mean, guess we'll see. The show hasn't aired yet, right? I don't think
it claims it has. It says broadcast 12/18. So
okay, so there you go.
Match, yeah.
I'll have to check it out, I guess.
It's worth saying that they have a Yokohama Bunka show, and there's been no hype for it.
Yeah,
feels very appropriate.
So there you go. As far as let's see. Let's see what's coming up on January 2nd. So they have a Korakuen Hall show with 2 matches announced, and then they have 2 shows at Shinkiba January 4th with match order TBD, but like 7 matches or 6 matches, and then another Shinkiba show on January 5th, I think, Strong Kingdom, with like 7 matches. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why is your Korakuen show that's earlier than the 2 Shinkiba shows have 2 matches announced, but your fucking Shinkiba shows have like 6 and 7? But okay, sure. So January 2nd, the New Year early death match at 6:30. This is Abdullah Kobayashi versus Takumi Tsukamoto for the Big Japan Deathmatch Heavyweight title, and Daichi Hashimoto versus Yuji Okabayashi for the Strong World Heavyweight title. So there you go. And then January 4th, the 4th and the 5th shows really not that big of a deal. They're just kind of like tag death matches, and then the other ones like strong matches. Yeah, I mean, not really anything super. I mean, the Strong Kingdom show on the 5th has Okabayashi, or no, on the 5th. Yeah. And Okabayashi and Irie against Izami Kodaka and Yuko Miyamoto. That could be really good.
That sounds nice.
So I'm going to try to remember to check that out. But yeah, not really a ton else otherwise.
I can't wait for Okabayashi to carry Daichi to like a 3 3/4 star match and Jack to come on and say it's a match of the year contender.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that like Okabayashi wins back the title there?
Very possible. I don't know why you couldn't say that's possible.
I doubt it. I wish.
I mean,
I wish. Why would they take
why put the title on Daichi at like Ryogoko and then have him immediately lose it back to Okabayashi, I guess? But like, I don't know. I just hope that like the Daichi title reign doesn't last for too long. But one thing that I actually found interesting is I think this is actually the third year in a row where Tsukamoto actually gets like the deathmatch title shot at like the first show of the year, which I think that's actually become like an interesting little like tradition. And I think like the last 2 years at least, the match has delivered. So let's see if we can keep that up against Abdullah as well.
So I think I was like 4.5 stars on those last two Tsukamoto 1-2 title challenges. I'm not sure this match will get to that level, but I hope it'll be good.
Yeah. So there's Big Japan. They're gonna keep on keeping on, I guess. So I want to make sure we have enough time to do a couple things for the end. So let's quickly touch on. I didn't really see a lot of Dragon Gate. The main thing I would take away from the year is it seemed like it was a transition year, and now we're going to enter 2020 with this slate really wiped clean, and a ton of people joined Red. Doi beat Benkei at the very end of the year to win the Dream Gate, and we kind of got into now this three-way feud where instead of all these units that had really, I think, lived out their usefulness, Maximum and Tribe Vanguard and Natural Vibes, now we're just going to have the Toryumon army, the Dragon Gate army, and Red. So basically a three-way unit war with very similar almost to Blood Warriors versus Junction 3, except there's like two generational big babyface armies and then a heel army. But Red's not quite as big as the other two, but like still pretty big, getting to be pretty big now with BB Hulk joining, and Kaito Ishida had joined a little while before that, and Hyo Watanabe. But it's a very, very interesting time in Dragon Gate, and definitely I want to try to watch more next year for the first time in a while because the three-way feud definitely interests me.
Yeah, shout out to Mochi and Benkei from I want to say October. That match was just really great.
Yeah, but Pac and KZ too.
Yep,
which was really awesome. Yeah.
I think they had a really strong kind of rebound year this year after they kind of had like a bit of a down year last year, which makes sense given all of the people that left. And I think kind of the last thing that was kind of still bothering me a lot about Dragon Gate was kind of all of the factions outside of Red being bad, really. So and I think they kind of made like a nice switch now where they just have like 3 very consolidated factions, and hopefully they're going to have a good year next year, and I think they're kind of in a position to do so.
Yeah. So that's Dragon Gate, and then they don't really have any shows Wrestle Kingdom Week as far as I can tell. So there you go. They're going to be part of the Wonder Carnival, which we'll talk about in a second. Wrestle-1, I guess the big thing there still was the Strong Hearts feud, although they kind of blew it off, right, towards the end.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much over. I haven't seen, I think, frankly, any Wrestle-1 the second half of the year. But their first half of the year, just because I've been so busy, but their first half of the year.
I'm gonna say I'm a liar. They did not blow that off because Strong Hearts just won their fucking tag league on November 27th. So that's very much still going, I guess.
At the very least, I feel like the hype has died down. But like I said, their first half of the year was just really, really excellent. With the T-Hawk title reign, his match in May against Shuji Kondo. If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend going out of your way to see it. I went 4.5 stars. And then also his matches against Jiro and Shotaro Ashino at the start of the year were really good. I want to see if I can catch up on some of the big stuff from their second half of the year. But unfortunately, I just didn't have a lot of time. But their first half of the year, at least from what I saw, was really great.
And Daiki Inaba did beat T-Hawk for their Wrestle-1 title on September 1st. So I guess I thought that was like the quote-unquote blow-off, but now Strong Hearts is still there. So, very, the people who love Wrestle-1 really love Wrestle-1. So there probably is stuff there worth checking out, but I just did not really watch them this year, so I can't really say much about it.
No, I think they've been fine overall. I mean, I didn't really watch a ton of it either, but the stuff I've seen was generally pretty solid, but yeah, that promotion currently just has no buzz. And I think if you look at the attendance as well, like they were kind of growing a bit with kind of the Strong Hearts invasion, but now that Strong Hearts is kind of invading everywhere, that isn't really a novelty factor for them anymore. And I think that attendance has also gone down quite a bit since then as well.
Yeah. ZERO1, again, this is a company I tuned into every year on January 1st, and otherwise I very rarely remember to watch them, but they continue to exist.
I think they had a pretty good year. They never make tape, but when they do, I think they actually made tape more than they have normally this year. Whenever I watch their shows, I always find myself enjoying them. They've got Yuji Hino and Otani and Sato, and Sekimoto was there for a good bit of the year. And then the rise of Toa Iwasaki, who's like their big up-and-coming star, has been the big story this year. He made it to the final of the Fire Festival and had a great match against Yuji Hino there. Then he had a title challenge against Daisuke Sekimoto later on in the year. So yeah, ZERO1, obviously it's a promotion that flies under the radar, but I think there's really great stuff on pretty much all of their shows. And I'm really looking forward to the January show this year. That card's really stacked.
Let's mention that. Actually, first of all, I forgot to mention for Wrestle-1, the Wonder Carnival at Osaka Indian Arena on December 31st at 3 p.m. It's a very big show as far as like, it's one of these, like, they used to do these a lot more, like these Gaora super shows, Remember, Paul, you and I were sitting behind at like a guy who had this amazing looking card on the back.
Wasn't that Yamato against Yamato was on that show as well?
It's like that was from like 2009 or something, and they used to do those a lot, and I'm glad to bring that back. It's basically Wrestle-1, All Japan, Dragon Gate, Noah, Land's End.
That's a fake promotion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a real all-star show here. It's in Osaka, so if you're going to Wrestle Kingdom, it's a bit of a trek. But this is the card here. Kaito Kiyomiya and Daiki Inaba versus Shotaro Ashino and Katsuhiko Nakajima. It's a really cool, 4 aces kind of main event here. I know 2 from Wrestle-1, but still, 2 from Noah, I guess. But, still a cool little match here. You have Zeus, Keiji Muto, and Masaki Mochizuki versus Suwama, Shuji Kondo, and Shuji Ishikawa. Again, very interesting match there. Yoshitatsu defending the Gaora TV title against Seigo Tachibana from Wrestle-1.
Actual wrestler challenging for the Gaora TV title. I feel like it's always like random.
There's something wrong with
that. Akira, Takao Omori, and Manabu Soya versus Atsushi Onita, Masato Tanaka, and Leatherface in a street fight, Texas Tornado, Bunkhouse Blast deathmatch. So, boy, oh boy.
And I assume Onita is only getting paid like 1 yen for it because he's a volunteer wrestler.
Yeah. Yusuke Kodama and Tajiri against Seki Yoshioka and Shigehiro Irie. Kuma Arashi and Ryuji Sai. Pegaso Illuminar and Jun Tonsho versus Genki Horiguchi and KZ. Ryuki Honda and Koji Doi versus Big R Shimizu and Takashi Yoshida. Ganseki Tanaka, Masayuki Kono, and Alejandro versus the Strong Machine Army, Strong Machine F, J, and G. And then finally, Takura Nikki, Kai Fujimura, and Hajime versus Hiroki Moriya, So Daimonji, and Kyosuke Ikaho. I'm sorry, I don't know who Kyosuke Ikaho is.
They're Land's End guys, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. So it's a pretty stacked card full of interesting matches there for the Wonder Carnival. January 1st, ZERO1 Korakuen Hall, headlined by Yuji Hino defending the ZERO1 World Heavyweight title against Yuji Okabayashi. So Okabayashi could walk out of these 2 shows as a double champion, just like Sekimoto was for a little while last year. That should be really good. I mean,
that should be very, very good. That's why do they have the match of the year right at the start?
Sugi defends the ZERO1 World Junior / International Junior titles against Hub. Interesting match there.
Yeah.
Yuko Miyamoto and Masashi Takeda defend the NWA Intercontinental Tag Team titles against Shinjiro Otani and Shoki Kitamura. Masato Tanaka, Ikuto Hodaka, and Takuya Sugawara versus the Strong Hearts, T-Hawk, Irie, and El Lindaman. Just a very interesting little 6-man tag there.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah. Yasu Kubota and Hide Kubota against Taru and Chris Weiss. And the opener, Kohei Sato against Toba Iwasaki. So definitely go check that show out. It's 2 p.m. on January 1st. So if that's airing live, you can watch that. Well, if you have Samurai TV, I guess you can watch that live.
I doubt it's airing live, but I hope so. The Sato Iwasaki match, I strongly recommend people to check that out because Iwasaki's rise has been really fun to watch. He's been probably the best guy this year that you might not have seen. And so I'm not sure if he gets like a big win there over Sato. I'd be inclined to think that he could. They've been really pushing him lately. And that'd be a good spot to get it in on, certainly your most viewed show of the year.
All right, so Thomas, you're right. It's airing 8 days later, January 9th. So on Samurai TV.
Unfortunately.
But at least it's airing at all. It's 0-1.
That's true.
That's true.
All right. So before we move into awards, I wanted to play a little game since we had this doc open. People do the WrestleMania Path of Greatness. I want to do the Wrestle Kingdom Path of Greatness because there's a couple choices here where I think the choices are a little hard. So we've talked about a bunch of these shows. There's some shows we didn't talk about where you can pick and choose like what how many shows you go into each day. What would you do? December 31st, I would go to Ice Ribbon Mania at 11:30 a.m. at Korakuen Hall. That's just you have the Tequila Seiya retirement gauntlet. Yeah, it's just a really cool looking card here. So I think that's a worthwhile show to go to. I would skip the Wonder Carnival. It's just too far. Osaka's too far.
Yeah.
And I have to go to that DDT Big Japan
Shuffle.
tournament at Korakuen Hall, 8 o'clock.
Yes.
You
can't miss that one. Yeah.
We should mention we have a doc of all the shows going on Wrestle Kingdom Week in Japan.
I'll link it.
Hopefully it should be up on the site fairly soon.
I'll link it in the description for the episode. So if you want to see all the stuff that's going to take place. A lot of the stuff is airing live. Obviously the DDT Big Japan Tag Tournament airs live on Samurai, so that'll be up somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's what I would do on December 31st. January 1st, you got 0-1 at Korakuen. We just talked about. That's a 2 p.m. start. That show looks awesome. Wave has a New Year Wave beginning show at Shinkiba at 6 that has no matches announced, so it's kind of a mystery show, but if you want to check that out, you could. I don't know if I would with no card, honestly.
I would probably go there. There is enough time to get from Korakuen to Shinkiba.
Yeah.
Time for the show to start. So, and generally, like these early year shows generally tend to be pretty stacked, and I think Wave probably would try to stack that card as well.
Got to pace yourself, though, I have to say.
That's true.
Yeah.
January
take a night off then, yeah.
January 2nd, the All Japan New Year's Wars, Korakuen Hall, 11:30 a.m. Obviously worth going to. Then you'd have your choice between a mystery Stardom show at New Year's Stars 2020 at Shinkiba, or just staying at Korakuen for Big Japan, the New Year Early Death Match at Korakuen. Even with only 2 matches announced, I think I would just go to the Big Japan Korakuen.
Yeah, I'd definitely do the All Japan Big Japan swing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Kobayashi Tsukamoto deathmatch title match could be pretty fun. So I'd sit through Daichu for that.
January 3rd, again, I would just stay at Korakuen. You have All Japan New Year's Wars at Korakuen Hall, 11:30 a.m. And then you have DDT New Year's Special Gift 2020 at Korakuen Hall at 6:30. The only match announced so far is Shinshiro Takagi versus Danshoku Dino versus Super Sasadango Machine. But really, what other match do you need? So I would definitely go to that. And you also have Freedoms running Shinkiba at 12:30. So if you don't decide you don't want to go to All Japan for some reason, you do have that option. And you have Stardom running at Shinkiba again at 6 p.m. if you don't want to go DDT. Both those shows currently have nothing announced. So January 4th, obviously, Wrestle Kingdom. I'm assuming most people listening to this would go to Wrestle Kingdom. That's at 5 p.m. But then in the morning, you have a bunch of different options. You have, Tokyo Joshi, the Korakuen Hall show at 11:30 a.m., which is a stacked lineup. Yuka Sakazaki versus Miyu Yamashita for the Princess of Princess title. Rika Tatsumi and Miyu Watanabe versus Nodoka Tenma and Yuki Aino for the Princess tag titles. Maki Ito versus Hikari Noa for the international princess title. Many princesses. And, just Shoko Nakajima against Hyper Misao. And Saki Akai versus Yuki Kamifuku. Mizuki versus Thunder Rosa. Just a great card there. So I would definitely go to that. You also have the Big Japan Deathmatch show at Shinkiba at noon if you're not into Joshi. You have a Stardom show at Tokyo KFC Hall at noon. The Rest of Cinderella.
I believe that's supposed to be like a fairly big show, but Stardom hasn't announced anything for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I think they haven't announced anything yet.
Yeah, so like that's the same, and they're trying to push that since obviously Bushiroad owns both. Is like, well, we're very close to Wrestle. I mean, it is true; it's like 2 stops away.
Yeah,
so you could easily go to both, but I would take the Tokyo Joshi.
Yeah, the Tokyo Joshi card is stacked.
Yeah. I mean, I would kind of consider going to the Big Japan show as well, just to like inhale some light tube dust at Shinkiba. But like, I think overall, just looking at that card for Tokyo Joshi Pro, I couldn't really in good conscience like not pick that. So I would probably go to that one too.
And then Wrestle Kingdom obviously is the first night at 5 p.m. and Noah's running head to head if you don't like New Japan. So,
I would consider Noah. I would consider going to Noah, but that Hiromu match would make me go to Kingdom. If that match wasn't on the card, I might go to Noah, honestly.
Okay, I would. I have to be there for that. For that, I mean, look, if nothing else, even if you're not into the double gold dash, which I think is awesome, that Liger match. I mean, that thing is like that Liger match is so crazy. Like Tiger Mask, Great Sasuke, Fujinami, and Liger against Taguchi, Tetsuya Takaiwa, Otani, and Naoki Sano. When they announced that's just one of the best retirement matches they could have done. So.
Yeah, and don't forget, John, you could also be there live in person to see Jay White hit the Blade Run and pin Tetsuya.
Sure. January 5th, you have an earlier Wrestle Kingdom at 3 p.m. But before that, you do have some options still. Obviously, you can go to Noah. None of these have matches announced, by the way. But you have Noah Reboot, which is they're going to announce the matches during the show at 11:30 a.m. at Korakuen. So that's obviously very close to Tokyo Dome. You also have Sendai Girls at Shinjuku Face at 12, which will be a little bit of a harder trip to get back over to Wrestle Kingdom if you're going to both. But you might have to leave Sendai Girls a little early, even depending on how long it goes. Where the fuck is Itabashi Green Hall? I should know this, but let's see.
I don't remember.
It's one of the few Tokyo venues I've never been to, so I'm checking right now.
That's like on my list for like the next trip as well. That and like Monster or Basement.
Yeah, I really want to go to Basement Monster. Yes, that looks just fucking awesome. Itabashi Green Hall is towards. It's like it's sort of by Nakano. Okay, so this is like not as far away as Shinjuku Face, but still probably a little bit of a trip. I'm going to look this up now for those of you who might want to go to send to. Oh God, what the hell's running? Itabashi Green Hall, Tokyo Joshi. Okay, let's see how long.
I would actually consider going to that Sendai Girls show just because it's in Shinjuku Face, and I really like that venue. So just to like have a chance to go there. But I think overall, the Noah one would probably be the strongest show, even though none of these have been announced.
Seedling, I think, has a Korakuen either like today or tomorrow. From the time we're recording this, so we should get Seedling's also running at noon at Shinkiba. We should get a card for that pretty soon. So I'd consider going to that, but I really am into Noah right now, so I'd probably end up going to Noah. Sendai Girls also, their January show last year was pretty strong. So that's probably the toughest choice. We have none of them have matches announced yet.
Yeah, so to answer my own question, Itabashi Green Hall to Tokyo Dome is about 26 minutes. Which is about the same as Shinjuku Face Tokyo Dome. So either way, Sendai Girls or Tokyo Joshi at noon, you'd have a bit of a trip and probably have to leave early if you don't want to miss the opener. From Shinkiba, I think that's like even longer. That's probably like 40 minutes. Yep, exactly 40 minutes. Wow. So if you want to go to Seedling, you have a little bit of a trip there too.
Yeah.
So any of those shows, if you really need to make to me, I want to be there for the start of Wrestle Kingdom, so I would probably go to Noah for that reason alone, because you're pretty much guaranteed it's a minute walk. So go to Noah at 11:30, and then go to Wrestle Kingdom at 3 p.m. to see Naito become double champion, and then
you said White?
I said Naito. And then after Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Kingdom will probably run long, so you'll probably miss some of this, but DDT's running Itabashi Green Hall at 6 p.m., nothing announced. Ozakai's running Shinjuku Face at 6 p.m., nothing announced. And Big Japan is running Shinkiba at 6:30, with Strong Kingdom with a bunch of stuff we talked about already. So
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, if I wouldn't go, like, if I would say, like, for some reason, like, I wouldn't go to Wrestle Kingdom. I would probably go to the Oz Academy show out of those three, to be honest.
Yeah. So I would try to go to Noah and New Japan and maybe try to rush over to Oz Academy if I could make it, but probably not.
Yeah, probably. No, like, it starts at 3 p.m. Like, there's no way that show's over by 6.
Yeah.
It'll be over at like 7, so you could get to like the last hour and a half of Oz Academy.
Yeah. So there's your path of Wrestle Kingdom greatness, I guess.
There's a lot of good shows running, and so it'll be good to watch. I don't know if anything's airing live other than the New Japan, All Japan, DDT stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be stuff trickling in over the course of the next week.
Well,
I think there might be Big Japan stuff on Samurai Live, I think.
Well, the All Japan stuff will run live.
Yeah.
Oh, you said All Japan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Big Japan could be live. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be a nice trickle of shows for like the first week and a half of January to check out that I'm really excited for. So
yeah, it's always a fun time. All right, let's get into our award picks. So again, for these awards, it would be anything other than New Japan, DDT, and Joshi. So any other Japanese promotions. So match of the year, my 5th place match of the year, the Triple Crown title, Kento Miyahara versus Suwama, All Japan, February 24th at the Excite Series, Night 11 in Yokohama. I went 4.5 stars. What is your number 5 match of the year, Thomas?
I have Jake Lee versus Kento Miyahara in the match that John hated from the Royal Road Tournament final show on September 23rd.
Paul?
Yeah, I have Jake Lee and Naoya Nomura against Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi from the Real World Tag League final.
All right.
Damn, now I'm really going to have to watch that.
Fourth place match of the year for me. I have the Champion Carnival Block A, Yuji Okabayashi versus Zeus, the All Japan Champion Carnival Night 13, April 21st in Hotel Amicia, something like that. Sapporo. I went 4.5 stars on that. If you love big, beefy dudes beating the shit out of each other, I mean, that's a match you absolutely have to watch if you missed it. That's just one of the best matches of the year. Thomas.
Number 4 for me is Yuji Okabayashi versus Takuya Nomura from Big Japan's Osaka Surprise 42 on July 21st.
Paul?
Yeah, and that is actually the exact same for me as well.
Number 3 for me, Kazuyuki Fujita versus Shuhei Taniguchi. Noah the Best, Battle of Aesthetics, November 2nd, Sumo Hall. 4.5 stars. Yes, it's 8 minutes. I don't give a fuck. This match is so fucking good as far as like old school shoot style, beating the fucking shit out of each other with headbutts and just bloody and fucking pounding each other. Just really old school, like fucking hardcore shit here. And I adore this match. If you somehow didn't see this one, it's like almost nothing else in Japanese wrestling this year. It's just such a good match. I definitely go out of your way to see it. Thomas?
Number 3 for me is Takashi Sugiura against Go Shiozaki from September 9th. Noah in the N1 Victory Block A Finals. Love this match. Just like 2 guys beating the shit out of each other. They had a great match last year too. And this was pretty much right at that level. I loved it. 4 3/4 for me.
Paul?
And then for me, it's Jake Lee versus Kento Miyahara from the Champion Carnival final.
My number 2 is Triple Crown title, Kento Miyahara versus Jake Lee, All Japan, October 24th, the Raising an Army Memorial Series, Night 6 at Korakuen. I went 4 3/4. I thought this was just the best of the Kento Miyahara title defenses this year. I don't know. Like, it also helped that I was going in unspoiled too, and like I, by the end, was just really, really rooting for Jake Lee to pull it out, and like I got so behind him in that match. It was just such a fucking awesome match, and Korakuen got so into Jake Lee after he looked dead in the water at times this year. So it was just it was a match that I, as a longtime Jake Lee fan, just really connected with. So I can understand why other people don't have it as high, but I adored that match. Thomas?
Everything you said was right. You just had one of the names wrong. Correct number 2 is Kento Miyahara against Naoya Nomura from All Japan, September 3rd. Just a tremendous match. I was unspoiled. I'm going to sound exactly like you, just with a different name. I was unspoiled for this match. It was crazy to see like how behind Corkin was of Nomura and me too. I was just so invested in the match, and he ultimately fell short. But this was like, okay, this is why I watch All Japan. I mean, I was just so invested in seeing Nomura win. And you can't tell me that he's not ready after watching this match and after watching the crowd connect with him in this match. I think he's ready to be on top. And it's my number 2 match of the year for Mr. Puro.
Yeah. What do you got here?
Yeah, my number 2 is Benkei versus Park from Kobe World and Dragon Gate, because to me that match it really was like the crowning of an ace, and it was perfectly structured with like Park never taking a fall anywhere, and then finally being unbeatable essentially since he left WWE, and then finally Benkei is able to overcome and put him down and firmly establish himself as like the ace of like Dragon Gate. And to me, it was just kind of perfect storytelling, and it paid off perfectly.
And my number 1 match of the year, Daisuke Sekimoto and Walter versus Yuji Okabayashi and Yuji Hino. Big Japan, November 4th at Ryogokutan Sumo Hall. 5 stars. Pretty much, the exact type of match that made me fall in love with Japanese wrestling in the first place. Just 4 big dudes beating the shit out of each other. I loved every single second of this, and, really just makes you feel very badly that Walter's in WWE, but what are you going to do?
Yep. Daisuke Sekimoto and Walter against Yuji Okabayashi and Yuji Hino from Big Japan, November 4th. Exactly what John said. Just what I want out of wrestling. 4 dudes beating the shit out of each other. A ton of fun, nonstop action. I watched this live, and my jaw was just like to the floor. And I was so tired, and just this match woke me up so much. It's just unfortunate that there was a Daichi match later on in the show.
Okay, and
5 stars.
My favorite match of the year for that is not that match.
Oh.
It's actually Kento Miyahara versus Naoya Nomura from March 19th. As I said, I think I've talked about this match a couple of times already, where to me it was like the breakout for Nomura. And like I kind of went into that match having high expectations, and it was even exceeded. And I was like really surprised, like how much of a complete another breakout performance for him it was. And for me, kind of on this night, kind of a star was born, and I think it was just a tremendous match overall.
I think we each have like 7 different Kento matches between our lists, and all of them are different.
Yes.
It's crazy because we have all 3 Kento Lee matches one of us had, and then me and Paul each had one of the Kento Nomura matches, and John had the Kento Suwon match. It just goes to show like how absurd of a year he had, is that like all 3 of us found different matches of his among the best matches of the year.
I mean, I even had like a tag match in there as well.
Yep. Yeah.
The only thing I want to apologize, by the way, I think I just coughed on the air. I tried to get the mute button, didn't get it, but what are you gonna do? All right, best major show. Here I'm just gonna give our top 3 each. I went Big Japan Ryogokutan in 3rd because again it was half an awesome show, half not an awesome show, but this was not. There's not a deep year for like supercards as far as what I thought anyway from these promotions. Second, I went with the Giant Baba Memorial Show from February 19th at Sumo Hall, which it only had 1 match. I went 4 stars or better on the main event with Tanahashi and Miyahara. But like as far as like everything on the show was like enjoyable, even if it wasn't hitting that 4-star level. But like there's just almost nothing in this fucking year that like hit that level for me as far as like everything, being a baseline enjoyable. And, I don't know. I'm describing this very badly, but like it was a really fun show. It's the best way I could put it. Like go back and watch it if you missed it. And if it like flew under the radar for you, you'll definitely enjoy the show from start to finish, which is more than you can say for a lot of other shows this year.
And the main event was like a legit great match.
Yeah, it was a really good match, so definitely worth checking out. But the number one show, I thought clearly head and shoulders above every other supercard from these promotions that I saw anyway, was No of the Best, the Battle of Aesthetics on November 2nd, Sumo Hall. Definitely a show worth checking out if you didn't see it. Thomas, go ahead.
All right, so number 3 for me is All Japan Summer Explosion Series 2019, Day 13. They're corking from September 3rd. This is the show. I think I was on Omakase to talk about the show with the tremendous Kento Nomura match. That was number 2 on my match of the year list. Also the great Sai and Zeus against Violent Giants title challenge, and then the oddly really great Tajiri against Akira Francesco match.
Yeah, that was really good.
So that's number 3 for me. That was my favorite All Japan show of the year. Like you said, not like a lot of super cards for them, but there were a few shows of them that I was going between for the 3 spot. Also considering the day 1 of the Carnival, the A block of the Carnival finals, and then the first Kento against Nomura Corkin that also had Violent Giants against Strong BJ, I want to say. Or no, not Violent Giants against Strong BJ. Sorry. It was Violent Giants against... Oh, no, it was. I don't know. I'm on head. Anyways, number 2 for me is Kobe World from Dragon Gate. I wasn't as high on the main event as Paul. Wasn't super high on anything on the show, but it was just a really enjoyable show from start to finish. Nothing was really bad. Nothing peaked super high, but a lot of great stuff. And then number 1 for me is the same as John, No of the Best. Really great show. Fun supercard atmosphere. And I was so happy that they main evented with Kano and Kaito, because I've been invested in that story for a while. I've been a Kano fan for a little while now. I thought he was really great in 2018, and I'm really glad that he got that spot here against his like big generational rival, even if he came up short.
Paul?
So my number 3 is the Night 17 from All Japan's Champion Carnival on the 28th of April. I think that was overall kind of, to me at least, it was like kind of one of the best night of the Carnival shows as well. Is like you had like a pretty strong undercard.
Is that the A block final?
No, that's the B block final. That's where you had the B block final. So you had like then at the top you had like Jake Lee kind of squashing Doring almost, and then you had like this amazing Nomura versus Obama match where Obama was just attempting to just grind down like Nomura into a pace, and then Nomura having this like amazing fiery comeback at the end, and then him having to face Jake Lee in the B block decision match as well, which I think that was just a tremendous show overall, top to bottom, and to me it was kind of like the most stacked show that All Japan had during the year. And then number 2 for me is the No Other Best show. I probably didn't like some of the kind of top line stuff as much as like some other people did, but I think it's like overall it was like pretty tremendous. Like I did think kind of like that, like just before the main event they had like 2 kind of not so great matches with kind of Muta against Marufuji and then Segura versus Elgin, but then overall like otherwise they had some pretty great stuff with the GHT tag team title match with Shiozaki and Nakajima, and then obviously the main event I thought was like a very strong match as well. But I think otherwise like the other kind of top 2 matches there kind of drag it down so that it's not quite the best for me. So, and the best for me was Kobe World. I mean, I kind of just praised the main event, but like otherwise there was some great stuff on there as well, where you had the Twin Gate title match where Red won the title, and then you had like the really great Casey versus Shun Skywalker match as well, which I loved that match as well. So I think overall, just top to bottom, to me, that was the strongest show of the year. And you also kind of had the kind of the 2-on-1 handicap match as well with Ichikawa and Saito versus Choi Hongman, which I think was very funny to watch as well. So that's why, to me, top to bottom, it was the strongest show of the year.
All right. So we got to get through the rest of these awards faster to get to the questions before Paul has to leave us for Star Wars. So let's see. Best feud. I have Kento Miyahara versus Jake Lee from All Japan in 3rd. Kento versus Nomura from All Japan second. And then I went with Kaito Kiyomiya versus Kano from Noah in first, which I thought was just a really, really strong feud. And if you missed I think it was Puro Dino on Twitter who did an awesome thread about it. If you don't know all the history they had leading up to the she's locked, so that makes it a little difficult actually to recommend it. But she did a great thread at the time. So there you go.
Yeah, my list is pretty similar. Kento and Lee from All Japan is my number 3. Okabayashi against Nomura from Big Japan, which I talked about earlier, is my number 2. And then number 1, I agree with John. I think very clearly to me the feud of the year is Kaito and Kano. They have the story dating back to last year, then the Corkin match this year, through their tag league run together, and then the breakup and into the big match this year after Kano won the N1. Just a really great story, and I assume it's a feud that'll continue as Noah's big generational rivals feud for years to come. So really great year.
Yeah, my number 3 is Ben K versus Red. I felt, like I said, I praised kind of the story and how it was built up to Cobra World. My number 2 is Kento versus Nomura. Just tremendous series of matches, and I think it's I can't give it a top spot because it's still ongoing right now. And then the best feud for me of the year was Takuya Nomura versus Yuji Okabayashi. I think Thomas has kind of praised it excessively already, and that just kind of mirrors all of the feelings that I had on it as well. Just great storytelling.
Tag team of the year. I have Strong BJ, Sekimoto Okabayashi in third, Violence Giants, Ishikawa and Suwama in second, and Axes of Shiozaki and Nakajima in first. I already kind of talked about why, so I don't need to go into a ton of that again.
I have the exact same top 3. Yeah, check out the Violent Giants Strong BJ matches if you haven't. Check out Axis' matches against Sugiyori Ami, and then also their match on Know the Best.
All right. Well, Thomas, good opinions. Paul?
Good opinions.
Yes. So before I lay out my top 3, I want to give a shout out to Takashi Yoshida and Gianni Valletta, who just missed the cut, unfortunately. No, but honestly, so my number 3 is Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi. And I think Yuma has really benefited from teaming with Kento this year, where it really has helped him develop as a performer. It's my number 2 is Katsuhiko Nakajima and Go Shiozaki. And I think we've talked about tremendous team. And then my favorite team still, for I think like the 3rd year running now, is the Violent Giants, which just always tremendously perform. I just wish that this had actually been the last year, but still my favorite tag team, and they're probably going to be next year as well.
So I forgot to do best promotion when I told you guys, because we could definitely do that. Let's just all give our number 1. For me, it's All Japan still. I just think the wrestling is just too, the high level wrestling is just too good still, even with all the booking problems, for me to go with anybody else.
For me, All Japan's 1, and then I'd say Noah 2, and then 3, maybe Big Japan. But let me throw ZERO1 in there to give them a shout out.
I would definitely do Noah 2, and I don't even know who 3. So
ZERO1, John.
I don't know if Big Japan. ZERO1, sure. The one show I saw from them. I mean, it sure as fuck should not be Big Japan with how bad the book is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably put Noah 3, and then 1 and 2 are actually really hard for me. I probably will have to give Dragon Gate the number 2 slot, and then I would give All Japan the number 1 slot, even though I complained about their booking incessantly, but I only do it because I love them so much, so they still would be my number 1.
Most outstanding wrestler, I went with Suwama in 3rd. I just think he had...
Ooh, good take.
Yeah, he had an amazing first half of the year. Even if he fell off a little bit in the second half, he still had enough really strong tag stuff and stuff that I thought, it was good enough for 3rd. I went with Kento Miyahara in 2nd and Yuji Okabayashi in 1st. I could easily swap those two. They just both had incredible years as far as really everything I saw them in, or nearly everything was really, really good. So,
yeah. Wow. I can't believe I'm not the one that has Suwama on their list. But yeah, Suwama had a tremendous first half of the year. He just barely missed the cut. He'd be number 4 for me. Number 3 is Daisuke Sekimoto. Great first half of the year, especially. And then number 2 and number 1, I feel very confident about. They're also my number 1 and number 2 overall for any promotion. And that's Yuji Okabayashi in 2nd, and then Kento Miyahara in 1st. I think Kento's year this year is just an all-timer. I think his Triple Crown one has just been incredible. So yeah, I can't praise him enough.
Yeah, I actually had Yuji Kobayashi third, but I think John might have just swayed me, and I think I'm going to put Savama third instead. And then I'm going to put Naoya Nomura as the second one, and then Kento Miyahara is my number one.
And then Wrestler of the Year, including like drawing and MVP quality and all that stuff. I put Okabayashi third here. I think, without him, I don't know what Big Japan's year would have looked like, honestly. And like, he just was so important, the strong division there and everything. And, probably should have had a longer reign as champion, but, was a big deal as the champion Carnival outsider too in All Japan. Kaito in second. Noah had a great year. I just don't like his matches quite enough to put him first, but he clearly was a success as the champion. And then Kento in first, because God knows even where the fuck All Japan would be without Kento Miyahara.
Oh my God.
So, there you
go. Third for me, I wrote, I don't know, Yuji Okabayashi, I guess. His matches have been incredible, but I mean, I'm not sure how great Big Japan's drawing has been this year. But he gets the third kind of by default, him or Sakamoto, I guess. Number two for me is not Kaito, it's Kano. I love Kano's in-ring work, and he main evented not only the Best Show that drew 5,500, but also he main evented the N1 finals in Osaka Edion number 1, which I think drew 26 or 2,700 fans. And for a promotion to draw that much when most promotions outside of New Japan and Dragon Gate are struggling to hit four figures there, I think that's a really big accomplishment. So that's why Kano is number 2 for me. Great match in that main event against Sugiura as well. And then number 1, it has to be Kento Miyahara. I mean, if you're looking at this from an MVP quality perspective, it's him and no one else in the entire world. I mean, I'm not sure All Japan is still here without Kento Miyahara.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually have the exact same top 3 as John. So Okabayashi third, Kaito second, and Kento as the first.
All right. So let's dig into the questions. First of all, on Twitter, Leo Papazmedov says, which company booking did you enjoy most this year? All Japan, Noah, or Big Japan? I mean, I think it's Noah.
It's
I think pretty
Noah.
much, all the decisions
absolutely.
all the decisions they made seem pretty solid, and I think they've really set up their 2020 really well with Go and Nakajima as possible challengers. So I have to go with them.
I'm really looking forward to their year.
I think that was the only promotion out of those where we didn't complain about the booking on the show.
And I think we even praised it to some extent. Yeah.
So we didn't get a ton of questions, so let me go. That's the only Twitter question. The Discord on Super Jcast, I have one question here from Ice Age Coming. Who is the most handsome Puro ace, and why is it Kaito Kiyomiya? I think it probably is Kaito. I don't know.
Let me think. You're not a big like Yuji Hino fan in ZERO1?
No. Yeah, exactly. Belly button not doing anything.
Any other? I don't know. Anyone else have any other thoughts?
I'd take Kento over Kaito.
I mean, I probably would take Kento over Kaito as well.
I think Kaito's a little more.
I don't know. I think they're both kind of pretty boys, I guess. So
yeah. Let's see. We got a few more questions in the Voice of Wrestling Discord. So we have from Liam here, a Japanese promotion gets a mainstream US TV show and replaces AEW. Which promotion do you want it to be, and why is it Hard Hit? We didn't talk about Hard Hit, but that show we went to, Paul, was awesome.
Yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, in June, it was just total fucking nothing but dudes doing mat work and striking and stuff. It was so much fun. Who do I want to get a US TV slot?
Basara.
Let's say Basara, sure.
No, you know who you want to give that TV slot to? J-Stage.
Honestly, J-Stage had a sneaky good year from the 2 shows I saw.
Yeah,
I almost put that J-Stage show we went to June. Like, I almost put that show like on my like top 3 of the year list. Like, that was tremendous.
Yeah. Dan Walker
but
says,
then I couldn't because that show doesn't have a main event anymore. So
yeah. Don Walker says, your favorite All Japan, here's a lot of questions, let's say. Your favorite All Japan junior.
Hikaru Sato.
Yeah, I was gonna say it finds still Hikaru Sato for me. I love Sato.
He's so good.
Mine would probably be Yusuke Okada at this stage.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good take. Yeah, I still think Sato's slightly better, but Okada's getting there.
Your favorite All Japan sleaze wrestler appearance this year? I don't know.
Oh God.
Probably Shrek because it pisses people.
Yeah, just because it made Joe Lanza so mad. That's yeah. Or no, I want Hellboy. Or what's that?
That was probably Shrek.
It was probably Shrek.
Yeah. I still kind of have a fondness for Carbolito because it's just kind of the sponsor guy that they barely trained who does like crazy topes and nearly dies.
And then should Big Japan bring in more hosses from abroad and who? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. So does either one of you think of who the fuck's available that they could bring in?
I have no idea. Chris Dickinson, is he a hoss?
Who? I don't know.
Chris Dickinson. I saw.
Chris Dickinson. Sorry, I didn't get correct. Yeah.
I saw a match from Beyond this year, and it was Sekimoto against Chris Dickinson. I don't watch a lot of U.S. wrestling, but that was really good. So shout out to that Sekimoto against Chris Dickinson.
I mean, actually, there might be someone who is kind of coming up in Ireland right now, who has a bit of horse energy, who might actually be really fun in Big Japan, and that would be Callum Black, who I've seen like a couple of times on OTT shows, and he's been pretty good on that. He has a pretty good intensity already. So I think he would actually fit in really well in Japan.
Okay. So Don Waka, sorry, you asked like 16 questions, so I'm going to end it there because this next one's kind of long and I want to get into it. So Prince says, there were talks of Noah going into isolation this year and concentrating on their own stuff. Is this the way to go, or does cooperation between promotions help grow your business? And if there is cooperation, what style of cooperation is the best? I think there's good arguments for isolation and for cooperation. I think, you have to be very careful with cooperation because, like, as promotions who worked with New Japan in the recent past can tell you, it is very easy for the bigger promotion to kind of eat you up in that. On the other hand, yeah. Well, not just that, Noah.
Well, yeah, Noah.
DDT, who almost lost like half the roster and did lose Kota and Kenny Omega. I mean, look, there's a lot of issues there. But I think if you're both on roughly the same level, cooperation can be great. And I think, it adds a lot to, like, imagine All Japan and Big Japan if they didn't cooperate, We just add so much.
I think it's like that's the perfect example of like cooperation working because those two just complement each other very well.
I was very disappointed after the Aoki Memorial show. There was a lot of Noah All Japan interactions on that show, and I was really disappointed that we didn't get more All Japan involvement on the Sumo Hall show for Noah. So I want to see they've been teasing that for a while. Also with Marufuji winning the Carnival, they teased some more crossover after that, either last year or 2 years ago. So yeah, I want to see more Noah All Japan involvement, but I think Noah being an isolationist that's not been what's developed. They used a ton of outsiders on the Noah the Best show. And as much I want to give credit to Kaito and Keno, I don't think they draw 5,500 without all the guest stars.
Yeah, the great boot on everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say they definitely. I was gonna say they definitely use less like big stars, than they don't use another company the way All Japan and Big Japan use each other, and I think they are a little isolationist as far as like not when it comes to other Japanese companies regularly, but they definitely did use some big stars on that Sumo Hall show, and
they're a part of that Wonder Carnival show at the start of the year. So we'll see if that ends up sparking more involvement between them.
Like Noah, Wrestle-1.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, that's actually the one relationship that I'm actually very curious about how it develops is kind of this relationship between Dragon Gate and All Japan that we have seen this year, especially because Dragon Gate kind of historically has been like super isolationist. I'm actually curious if that is like going to develop more next year.
Yeah, Dragon Gate had involvement in I think all of the All Japan tournaments this year. And then 2 of the 4 semifinalists in the junior title tournament are from Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Rika Tatsumi, presumably not the actual Tokyo Joshi wrestler, but if this is her talking, I'm a big fan, Rika. What's next for Wrestle-1? will they be lost in the shuffle in 2020?
Yes.
They
Yes,
always
they
are.
already are. They already are lost in the shuffle. Right? Not if they're going to be, they already are. So, and I mean, I get that it's like another place for people to work, but like, and I know it will never happen, but I would still like. Originally, Wrestle-1 was kind of a split from All Japan,
Yeah.
and I do think both would actually benefit from it, like folding back in, because you would have like an immediate feud with Kento versus Ashino, and then you could actually like build a promotion around that for a while, and then you can build up like Nomura and Jake underneath that, and I think like they would just benefit a lot from it, but I know it won't happen. So, what can you do?
All right, the last question, Liam. When will the Brahman Brothers, or where will the Brahman Brothers be best placed to take their rightful place as the best tag team in the world in 2020? I think he's saying like what promotion, I guess. They need to come to All Japan.
Outside of Shinkiba.
Go to some promotion that does not make tape.
Oh, wow. Okay. These Brahmin haters. Definitely have to end the show after that. But yeah. All right. So thank you as always for listening, everybody. Go ahead and plug your stuff, guys.
On Twitter at Wrestling Ratings. Yeah, that's about it. Hopefully we'll have that Wrestle Kingdom week schedule up on the site soon, but don't forget to link that in the description, John, because I think that's really helpful for people planning out how they're going to be watching some shows in the first couple weeks of January.
Yeah. I'm saying
yeah,
what?
And well, you can find all of my articles on Voices of Wrestling, and then I guess I have a Twitter too, but whatever.
I'm gonna plug it, so it's fine.
Sure.
Sure. But yeah, so that's it for this penultimate episode. So I've kept it under wraps because first of all, I wanted to make sure I actually had everybody booked and a time that we could actually all do it because that was a little difficult. But next week, the New Japan Pro Wrestling year interview, the final year interview episode we're going to do here. I'm very pleased with the guests I've gotten together. It's like a bit of an all-star team as far as like podcast hosts on this network. Obviously, I will be there as usual. Then we have Joe Lanza from the Voices of Wrestling flagship will be joining us, and Joel Abraham from the Super J Cast, and Dan McDonald from the Super J Cast. So it's a real summit of New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast hosts on this network. So myself, Joe, Joel, and Damon all together to talk about New Japan's 2019. That will be next week's episode of Wrestling Omakase. So I hope you're looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it.
Joe just barely sneaking into Omakase Award ballot qualification.
You probably will even fill it out is the question.
I think we should take bets on that in the Slack.
Now Joe and Rich both filled it out last year, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know if they will. I guess we'll find out. But yes, there you go. So next week, the last episode of 2019, Joe and Joel and Damon all together, along with yours truly, for the New Japan interview episode. I hope you're excited. I'm very excited. Folks, thank you as always for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestle Omakase, Wrestling Does Not Fit. And we'll see you next week for New Japan Year in Review. Bye-bye.